3 of the Tower of Despair when you get to the Light Duo. The best part about this part is that technically, I know the spoiler I will have to mention is that there's not a sun we fight. So no harder version of Dark Sun. But at the same time, if you know the plot of the story, we know fought the Darkle movement opposing us. Well, I mean, apart from the hand boss fight, but then he gets the darkest form, and of course, you know how that fight goes. So, the only fight we had that sort of like that was Evil Sage, and now we have at least a new Sage boss fight in the game, which is actually really nice. So, I think it makes the Sage boss fight and the Sun boss fight even enough. But yeah, it's basically if you just fight it. Basically, this boss fight's simple. It's just if you fight Dark King and Evil Sage instead of Dark King and Dark Queen. But yeah, just because again, and this is a pretty familiar boss fight because it's similar moves like the other two. But yeah, I'm telling you though, nonetheless, I still like the final boss theme, but the Evil Sage theme is still really good. So yeah, like the piano especially, like, again, the lock-on attack is pretty simple to understand. I mean, I don't really need to talk about too much about the boss fight itself, because if you already played the 3DS version, they're basically the same boss fights. Just this time you're fighting these two at the same time instead of fighting Evil Sage alone or Dark King with Dark Queen. It's still a great boss fight nonetheless. The music also fits really well. Oh, heal. But if you want to know though, for the Sage, he simply does the standard lock-on. That'll be where you can use sealed sprinkles on. To then, eventually a turn later, he will do the Tower of Flame move that does massive damage. However, he's not the strongest user to do the lock-on attack ability. And also he does Thunder for a standard attack, and has Giga Explosion for the clear swipe attack. And for the other one, well, it's the standard. He does a melee attack. He does a Watch Swarm attack that hits all Miis, and he can make Miis go into nightmares, which is basically standard for the trio. Again, the theme, but yeah, Evil Sage's theme is really good. But yeah, here comes the explosion. But yeah, he's basically just a mage with a boss, basically. Because he has Tower of Flame, he has Giga Explosion, and he has Thunder. I mean, the only difference that the final boss hand had for the white hand was the Giga Thunder clear. You know, they actually could have gave him that too. That would be cool. But yeah, because of how good Barrier is for Mage, it lets her tank more attacks than usual. Like, Normally, not that many memes would survive it, but that's what makes mages and also the elf class high tier, because burials minimize damage, and that basically massively helps the fight from a victory or a defeat. And don't worry, Donkey still has his role in the battle as well. Even though earlier in the fight, the one thing I should have done was actually used the Horse Whisper and attack back there instead of Snort. Maybe that could have done a bit more. But still doing alright. But again, at this point, this is the second last boss fight of the Tower of Despair. But don't give up, because... not because that sequence shows me heroically take a hit, but that means you're just one more boss fight away to go to completing it. Again, it's mostly the theme that's so good. For example, I was able to time it correctly to Ben that he used Tower of Flame. Again, I normally have the pattern normally goes like this. Melissa goes first, then the fast enemy attacks next. And depending on what, and then, in this case, the other one attacks next. It's usually, if an enemy is really fast, like, I'll just say Dark Sun, for example. Melissa goes first, then Dark Sun does the attacks, and then, and if it was another enemy that was slow, then they attack after when I'm done with my move. And then Pin and Deity are basically the backup, since I do think it's the best idea to have the healers go slower than everyone else. Because if the healer is the one that's supposed to do the healing to recover HP for all the other Miis, which is the best way to use a healer class. But yeah, you've seen me use safe spots pretty well at this point. But yeah, once the Sage is defeated, then the other one is basically easily dealt with. Again, the Sage is much harder than his weaker counterpart. Sometimes it gets interesting like this, but still, we get moments where we snap out of it. Because listen, if that happens, it just happens occasionally. But it does make some questions like, am I at equal speed? Is it random? And now goes the Sage. And here's me waking up Pit again. Oh wait, he didn't. But yeah. Things now get easier now with the Sage taken care of. Hey, look. It's still really good. And hey, look, it's a horse. Metal filled. nonetheless, normally, if Ballista was using Mega Flame, that basically means the boss's HP has already went to 0, because she would normally use the strongest mage attack for a mage AI, but if it uses a Waco one, that basically means that it has little HP left. Normally. Yeah, that shows it's done. Well, I'll see you next time for the final boss of the Tower of Spell.